Where does our story begin? It's a question we have all asked. To find the answer, we must travel back in time. We must go back much further than written history. We go back before the Great Pyramids, before the first cities, even before the first farms. We journey back hundreds of thousands, even millions of years. Scientists, through careful study and incredible discoveries, have found the starting point of our shared human journey. That starting point is not just a single place but a vast and beautiful continent. That continent is Africa. It is the place where our story, the story of every person on Earth, truly began. For a long time, we did not know this for certain. People had many ideas about where humans came from. But science looks for evidence. It looks for facts we can see and touch. The evidence pointed overwhelmingly in one direction. It led scientists to the sun-drenched savannas and deep valleys of Africa. Here, buried in the ancient earth, were the secrets of our past. These were not just stories passed down, but physical proof of our earliest relatives. This makes Africa more than just a continent on a map. It is our ancestral home, the very cradle from which all of humanity was rocked. Think about that for a moment. Every person you have ever met, every historical figure you have ever read about, can trace their deepest roots back to this one continent. It is a profound and humbling thought. It connects us all in a way that transcends borders, cultures, and the passage of time. The story of humanity is a single, continuous narrative, and its first chapter was written across the landscapes of Africa. Understanding this beginning is essential to understanding ourselves and our place in the world today. It is a story of survival, of innovation, and of a journey that continues to this day. This idea is not just a guess. It is a theory built on decades of hard work and discovery. Archaeologists and paleontologists have spent their lives digging in the African soil. They have been searching for clues to solve this great puzzle of our origins. What they have found has completely changed how we see ourselves. They have unearthed the bones of our ancestors and the tools they used to survive. Each discovery is like finding a missing page from our family album. These pages tell a remarkable story of how a small group of early humans in Africa eventually gave rise to the billions of people who now inhabit our planet. The most powerful clues about our past come from fossils. These are the ancient bones of our very distant relatives. In places like Ethiopia, Kenya, Tanzania, and South Africa, scientists have found some of the most important fossils ever discovered. They have found the skeletons of early humans who walked the earth millions of years ago. One of the most famous is Lucy, a skeleton found in Ethiopia. Lucy lived over 3 million years ago. Her bones showed that she walked upright on 2 legs, a key step in our evolution. Finding her was like finding a great-great-great-grandmother to all of us. These ancient bones tell us so much. They show us how our ancestors changed over immense spans of time. Scientists can see how their brains grew larger. They can see how their bodies adapted to new challenges. The shape of their hips, legs, and feet shows us how they moved. The size of their skulls gives us clues about their intelligence. Each fossil is a snapshot from our deep past. By putting these snapshots together, from older fossils like Lucy to more recent ones like Homo erectus, we can create a timeline. This timeline shows the long and gradual journey of evolution that led directly to us, Homo sapiens. But it wasn't just bones that our ancestors left behind, they also left the tools they made. In places like Olduvai Gorge in Tanzania, archaeologists have found simple tools made from stone. These are some of the first technologies ever created. Early humans would strike one rock with another to create a sharp edge. This sharp edge could be used to cut meat from a carcass or to break open bones for the nutritious marrow inside. These simple stone choppers might not look like much to us now, but they were a revolutionary invention. They gave our ancestors a huge advantage in surviving and finding food. These tools tell a story about the mind of early humans. They show us that our ancestors could think ahead, they could plan. They understood that by changing an object like a simple rock, they could make their lives better. This ability to create and use tools was a massive leap forward. It marks the beginning of technology, the same drive for innovation that would eventually lead to computers and spaceships. The first sparks of human ingenuity and creativity are found right there, in those chipped and sharpened stones resting in the African soil for millions of years, waiting for us to find them. Why did so much of our early evolution happen in Africa? The answer lies in the continent's dynamic and ever-changing environment. Africa is a land of incredible diversity. It has dense rainforests, vast open grasslands called savannas, and harsh deserts. Over millions of years, the climate in Africa was not stable. It went through long periods of wet and dry cycles. Forests would shrink and grasslands would expand. Then, thousands of years later, the forest would return. This constant change created a powerful engine for evolution. It was a perfect laboratory for creating a creature that could adapt to anything. Imagine being one of our early ancestors in this world of constant flux. The environment was always presenting new problems to solve. When the forest shrank, the ability to walk upright on two legs became very useful. It allowed our ancestors to see over the tall grasses of the savanna, to spot predators, and to travel long distances more efficiently. A changing climate also meant that food sources were not always reliable. This pushed our ancestors to become more clever and resourceful. They had to learn to find different kinds of food, from fruits and roots to animals. This challenge helped drive the growth of our brains. The need to adapt was the key pressure that shaped us. It favored those who were flexible in their thinking and behavior. Those who could solve problems, cooperate with others, and invent new tools were the ones who survived and passed on their genes. Africa's changing landscape was like a demanding teacher. It forced our ancestors to become smarter, more social, and more versatile. It is this very adaptability, born from the challenges of the African environment, that became the hallmark of our species. It is the reason we were eventually able to leave Africa and thrive in every corner of the globe. This unique environmental pressure cooker is not found in the same way on other continents during that critical period of our evolution. The Great Rift Valley, a massive geological trench that runs down eastern Africa, was a particularly important area. Its shifting landscapes and volcanic activity created a mosaic of different habitats. This variety of environments provided many opportunities and many challenges, which spurred on the rapid development of different early human species. In a very real sense, the land itself was an active participant in our creation story, pushing and pulling our ancestors along the path that would eventually lead to us. For millions of years, our human story was an African story. But then, something incredible happened. Sometime around 60,000 to 70,000 years ago, a small group of modern humans, Homo sapiens, did something no human species had successfully done before. They walked out of Africa. This wasn't a single, organized event. It was likely a slow process, a series of small migrations that took place over thousands of years. They probably followed coastlines or herds of animals, slowly expanding into new territories in the Middle East. From there, the journey continued, generation after generation. This journey was one of the greatest achievements in human history. From that starting point in the Middle East, these small bands of pioneers spread out in all directions. Some groups turned west, moving into Europe. Others traveled east across the vast expanse of Asia. They eventually reached the coasts of the Pacific Ocean. Using simple rafts or boats, they crossed the water to islands and even to the distant continent of Australia. Another group traveled north, through the cold lands of Siberia, and eventually crossed a land bridge that once connected Asia to North America, populating the Americas for the first time. Within just a few tens of thousands of years, a blink of an eye in evolutionary time, humans had settled on every habitable continent on Earth. It is an astonishing feat of exploration and endurance. These early travelers faced new climates, new diseases, and new predators. Yet the adaptability that was forged in Africa allowed them to survive and thrive everywhere they went. They learned to make warm clothing to survive the ice ages in Europe. They learned to hunt massive animals like mammoths. They learned to navigate by the stars to cross the open ocean. Our species proved to be the most successful explorers the world has ever known. Today, the evidence of this single origin is written in our DNA. Genetic studies from around the world all point back to that same African source. They show that all non-Africans are descended from that small group that left the continent so long ago. This shared story is incredibly important. It reminds us that, beneath our superficial differences in appearance or culture, we are all one family. We are all Africans. We share a common heritage and a common beginning. Understanding our journey from the cradle of humanity helps us see that the divisions between us are recent and small compared to the deep, ancient connection that binds us all together.